Hello everyone and welcome to our Tech Tuesday tutorials number 178. Today, by request, we take a look at the AI-powered chatbot Google Bard. In the simplest terms, Bard is a generative AI chatbot that focuses on answering your questions in a natural and conversational way. Bard's a bit more analytical and logic-based than ChatGPT, making it a little less creative, but it excels in math, classification, and logical reasoning. According to AndroidPolice.com, the company recently restructured its assistant team, bringing more AI specialists into the fold on Bard's development. It's been steadily adding new features to the chatbot since its debut, so much so that it's now maintaining a changelog. So at this point, it's pretty safe to say that Bard is here to stay. Bard is currently in experimental phase, and it will be buggy or limited in many ways. Bard uses Google's Pam2 engine. Palm's logical capabilities include arithmetic, code completion, semantic parsing, summarization, logical inference, common sense reasoning, pattern recognition, and translating. Not to mention an understanding of physics and even explanation of jokes. So we're going to show you a few examples that demonstrate these capabilities. The first one was supplied by Google. It says on a shelf there are 4 cars, a green car, a blue car, an orange car, and a yellow car. The green car is to the left of the yellow car. The yellow car is the second from the left. The blue car is the rightmost. What is the car order? Please think step by step. And so it goes through these steps and says, we know that the green car is to the left of the yellow car, and the yellow car is the second from the left. That means that the green must be the first car on the left, and then we also know the blue car is the rightmost, which means that the orange car must be third. Therefore, the car order is green, yellow, orange, and blue. Now, this isn't simple language parsing and prediction. This is actually a little bit of logical reasoning, which is kind of a big deal when you're looking at AI. Its translation services are actually pretty good too. So I asked it translate the phrase, "a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush," into Spanish. And it gives me the translation, and it says that this proverb means it's better to have something certain than to risk it. But then I say, okay, I wonder if that's actually literal. So translate that back into English, but literally, word for word. What did you actually translate this to? And they said, okay, here you go. And it actually translated it to, "a bird in the hand is worth more than 100 flying," which is a bit more accurate to the idiom in Spanish. So I said, okay, translate this. Ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. And I know I murdered it. I'm sorry. Please provide only the literal translation for now. No interpretation or explanation. So it says here, the literal translation is I understand only train station. And despite my telling it not to interpret that, it said basically it's an idiom that's used in German to mean that someone does not understand anything that's being said. It's similar to the English idiom, "it's all Greek to me." So again, the problem with a lot of the old translation services is that they would translate literally what you're saying, as opposed to getting to the heart of what you're trying to say and the meaning behind it, and then coming up with the right words to say based on that. I even had to explain a statement that I say a lot. I don't know if I came up with this myself. It's nothing profound, but I've been saying it for years, that I love learning. I just hate being taught. And it says it could mean a few things. It could mean the speaker wants to learn independently. Negative experiences of being taught in the past, self-directed and curious. All those are me. That's why I say that. Some additional thoughts. Again, it just continues to extrapolate here. Difference between learning and being taught. I think that's actually really interesting. And some people are more self-directed and so on, and that there are a lot of different ways to learn. Just like ChatGPT, Python can also help with lesson plans or ideas for teaching and things like that. So I had one here that I said, "I'm new to computer science. I have to teach some students. Can you suggest some starting lessons or concepts?" And sure enough, it goes through there and starts producing some of these. And then there's some tips for teaching computer science as well. So I said, I want to try programming basics. Can you give me an introductory lesson on Python for my beginner students? Sure. Here's an introductory lesson. What is Python? Why do you learn it? Getting started, basic syntax, going into your first classic printing thing to have it print, identifying variables, using operators, conditional statements, a few functions, and so on. So I said, okay, where can I try Python online? I want to use Chromebooks, but we don't want to install software. So this starts showing the strength of Google Bard for online access. So it looks up these websites and actually links to them. And if you've watched a little bit of the ChatGPT thing I've done, that actually can screw that up. It sometimes gets the links wrong and things like that because they're old. There's 2021 is its cutoff, whereas Bard is live and it uses today's web. So these links do work, and that's pretty strong. So then I said, well, help me debug this code. And I gave it some code, and there was an error in this code, and I wanted to see if it would spot it. And it said, sure, I can help you debug this code. The code you provided will not run because print name, age, and height right here will try to print the values of these variables, name, age, and height. However, these variables haven't been defined yet. They're defined later. These are in the wrong order. And it tells me the order that it needs to be and everything else. You assign the variables, and once you've assigned them, it'll do it. Here's the complete code for the bug fixed. So that's pretty strong. Now, if I don't like that response on any of these responses, you can come in here and view other drafts. One thing that is interesting is that Bard automatically creates 3 drafts of anything it answers for you. And you have the option to view those other drafts or even generate new ones if you don't like the way that those are said. So you'll notice that it says it in a slightly different way, explains it in a slightly different way, or whatever. Now, once you've moved on and asked another question, then you can't go back and have it redo previous questions or previous answers. Once you've responded that way, you've accepted it. So another thing that Bard can do is analyze images and process them a little bit. It can resize them, rotate them, turn them into GIFs if you've got multiples, but other tools on the web can do that. What's impressive is its ability to understand images to some degree. Now, it's still very, very basic, but this is one image that I uploaded of our 2 dogs, and I thought it was kind of a humorous look on her face, and I thought maybe it could give me a caption and describe it. It does describe it. It's actually pretty impressive. It says it sees 2 poodles next to each other in front of a wooden fence. They're both brown and white. That's not quite right. Maybe it saw that as brown because this is a very similar grayish color for the wood. I don't know. Says they have curly hair. Poodle is slightly larger than the one on the right. That's not true. And they're both looking off to the side. That's not true either. But it got all their details pretty well. I said, provide a funny caption for the picture. Well, it's not very creative. It basically describes them and it's a caption, but it's not like a funny caption, like a lolcat or something like that. But okay, that's starting to show some limitations here. And of course, some of the details it got wrong. So I said, okay, how about this one? Let me try this picture, which is the most adorable little picture of Tamora, the party-colored poodle. And it says, sure, here are more casual captions for this one. It says, this pup is vibing on a purple blanket with his toy. It's living the dream, taking a nap on his toy and all that. But these don't sound very snappy or witty or whatever. So you can see where Bard kind of fails on some of these things, even though it's fairly impressive in its ability to see an image and then describe it. Here's another example where it kind of failed, but I think it's by design. I uploaded pictures of people. These were generic pictures that were AI generated actually, so they didn't really exist. And I said, describe it. And it just said, I'm sorry, I can't help with images of people yet. I thought maybe it didn't want to describe people because it might describe them as ugly or fat or whatever. I don't know. So I said, this is an AI generated picture. Can you do it anyways? These aren't real people. It says, I can't help you with images of people. Notice that it's not arguing with me. It's not going to argue with you. It's just going to block you basically and just say, nope, too bad, ain't doing it. Which is actually, I think, better than ChatGPT getting kind of defensive and arguing with you. It successfully described this picture pretty well. It got a couple little details wrong. You can pause the video and see that there. I'm not going to take the time. Then it really started messing up on this picture. This is a picture of 6 different drinks here, different types, different colors, and so on. And I thought, how does it handle that kind of detail? And it says 6 different drinks, okay? Different colors, yep. Different flavors, not sure how it knows that, but I think it's just getting a little bit creative. 2 straws in the glass with the blue drink, 1 straw in the glass with the red drink, and 1 straw in the glass with the green drink. Where's a green drink? I don't see green. If this is blue, then that's not counting that one again. I don't know. It got that wrong. And then it starts saying it's on a wooden table. None of that's right. Purple drink? Purple drink? Is it a martini glass? Now it's hallucinating. Anyways, I said that's not accurate. Look again. It still got it wrong. I asked how many drinks are in the picture. 5. Now it's even wrong again. It's got wronger if it could do that. I can come see other drafts and see if 5 still not getting that quite right. And it's hallucinating now with purple drinks and so on. So it's still not yet 100% accurate. It's still not yet amazing. But the fact that a computer can analyze an image like this and report back some basic details is still pretty dang impressive when you think about it. Again, ChatGPT can't do this. It doesn't handle images and process images and understand images like that. So that's a pretty interesting strength for Google Bard. Another strength I wanted to point out here with Bard is that it can look up things on a website and report back. So I asked for some Tom Hanks movies, and it gave me some, and then linked to their IMDb page with a link to, with the image of the movie poster. That's pretty strong. Again, ChatGPT is not doing that. Of course, by the way, on all of these, you can hit Google it and just get related searches right there, and then start looking at that as well. So I asked for 5 more, no problem. Then I said rank them in order based on IMDb score, and it did so. And then I said, okay, put that in a table with additional columns for movie rating and runtime. Let's say I wanted to watch this with my daughter and I wanted to get the right movie rating, or we didn't want a super long movie. No problem. Then I said, revise it one last time, put a short synopsis in the column, and then I had it move the column. Fine. So let's say I take this and I want to put this in Google Sheets. Well, all these tables can export to Google Sheets, and in just a second, it's been created. I can open it up, and there's my Google Sheets, and all I have to do then is adjust the text wrapping and the width of the table. Excellent. Really awesome. By the way, when you hit the share button, you can also share this to Google Docs, and it'll export, create a Google document, export that information to a Google document, and in short time, I've got a Google document. It's just kind of nice, though, that any response I get from Bard, not necessarily tables, can be exported to a Google document in no time. While we're at that, notice that you can also choose to just share the link. When you come here, you can say, I need this prompt and the response, or the entire chat, and give me a headline or whatever else, and then create the link. So let's say I do that. I create the public link. I can then share this public link, and I can open this up in another tab. So there's my link. I can share this with people who don't have a Google account, who don't have a Bard access, nothing. That's pretty awesome. Now, ChatGPT does allow you to do a similar thing. Just know that both of these systems have that. So another thing that was kind of impressive to me was its ability to kind of plan itineraries and so on. Again, because it's got access to the web live, that kind of changes the game. I wanted to go out to eat with my wife and hit Tybee just for a little walk. And I asked it what time was sunset, but it gives me a little bit more. It says, oh, here's sunset, but the golden hour is at this time. Because it's even saying it creates a warm and flattering glow, which might be kind of a guess that we're going to go out there and take some pictures. Then I said, do you know if Carrabba's in Savannah takes reservations? And if so, would you recommend getting them? Just to see what it would do. Yeah, it would, especially on the weekends and so on. It's usually busy around that time, but this was during the weekday. And it gave me the phone number without asking. I thought that was pretty good. And then gave me some tips for getting a reservation and how much time you should spend and stuff like that. I said, yeah, we're going to go tonight. This was on a Wednesday when I did this. Eat dinner, drive to Tybee afterwards. Is 6 p.m. a good time? It's a good time, but they actually recommended 5:30 or earlier so you can have enough time to eat and then drive to Tybee and get to the golden hour without having to worry about time. Then it gave me an itinerary for that whole evening. That's pretty awesome. That's a lot more than what I asked for. So I thought that was pretty good. Now, this is where it got really interesting. We went to Tybee and we saw a picture here of a plant. And I thought that plant was kind of strange looking with some nice little leaf patterns. So we took a picture and said, can you identify this plant? I found it on Tybee Island. Again, we're using images now, submitting them, having it do its web search and image recognition. And it's identified that as fire on the mountain, perennial herb, southeastern United States, including beaches, dunes, and coastal forests. It also says that it's very poisonous, keep it away from children and pets. It could also be these two things, but it doubts it. Awesome. So I said, what about this? These are these big slabs of concrete. They're very weathered and also taken on Tybee Island North Beach. And it says those slabs are most likely the remnants of a seawall that was once used to protect the beach from erosion. Seawalls are typically made with concrete or rocks and are built parallel to the shoreline. Not really sure if that's the case, but it is parallel to the shoreline. It's also possible that they were used for a different purpose, such as a foundation, walkway, breakwater, whatever. So I thought that was kind of nice because it meant that Bard didn't just give me this confident answer that this is the right thing, which sometimes ChatGPT will do. it actually kind of hedged its bets a bit and said, we're not really sure, but it could be this. We found a plant that looked kind of interesting, and it had these weird colored berries with these like bright red stems, and the berries looked like most of them had been eaten. So I said, what is this plant? Are the berries edible? It says it's likely pokeweed, perennial herb, and it's also large purple flowers that bloom in the summer, and the berries are red and poisonous. They can cause nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. It's important to note that it's a very toxic plant. All of the parts of the plant, including the root, stems, leaves, and everything, are poisonous. Even a small amount can be harmful. Ooh, okay. So it says it could also be these things, but I doubt that based on the descriptions it gave. Again, not 100% certain, which is good. Show me examples of pokeweed, details. And then it gave me pictures and even said that this is the stem, but it becomes bright red or purple, and gave me some of these things and the berries. All of that looked exactly like pokeweed. Here's some additional details about pokeweed. Then I asked, is there a way to prepare a plant for consumption? Because my wife said she had heard of poke salad, because I wasn't sure if it would tell me anything about a poisonous, plant being used for food. And it said, I'm unable to help. I'm only a large language model, and I don't have the ability to process and understand that. But you just gave me all this, so that's weird, right? That's it censoring itself, saying, I'm not going to tell you how to make a poisonous plant into food. So I tried something else. I was like, give me some recipes for pokeweed. How about that? Again, I'm unable to help. It's not going to argue with me. Exact same stock answer. Done. We're not doing this. So then I said, okay, what is poke salad? I thought I heard a southern dish called that. And now it tells me, and oh boy, does it tell me. It goes into all this detail about poke salad and how it's prepared and how they boil it 15 to 20 minutes for the leaves. And then they boil it again 15 to 20 minutes more after they've rinsed it. And then they serve it with onions, peppers, tomatoes, eggs, or that they saute it in bacon grease and so on. And then they talk about some of the things. Now, here's the thing. It's important to note that pokeweed is poisonous when eaten raw, so it's important to cook it properly. And here's some tips for identifying and preparing pokeweed for poke salad. Only young ones, avoid picking in the red stems and berries, wash it thoroughly, so on. So that was impressive, but it was also a little concerning. It did tell me how to make an edible, non-poisonous dish from a very poisonous plant. But it did attempt at least to safeguard that information or protect me from it twice before I found a way to get around it. So there's a lesson still that you can kind of trick the AI to telling you what you want to know sometimes. Just for fun, I thought I would ask it the age-old question, how many licks does it get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop? I thought it would tell me 3. No. It is apparently 364 licks. The actual number can vary, but in 2007, the Discovery Channel conducted an experiment to determine the average number of licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop. They had 100 people lick it and determine that. So I thought it was pretty funny. But I said, the commercial said 3. And it says, okay, yeah, that's right. The Tootsie Roll commercial did. And then I said, well, the owl cheated. If you remember the commercial, I'll put a little bit of that here.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
A good question. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
If there's anything I can't stand, it's a smart owl.
How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
The owl cheated. But it says, it's true, the owl definitely cheated. But he says he starts licking it in a spiral pattern, which is a more efficient way. And that's not how he cheated. Then he uses beak. There you go. So next time you're wondering how many licks it takes, remember the answer is not 3. It's more like 364 unless you're an owl. I thought that was witty. That was pretty funny. And if I wanted to, I can come here and tell it to redo it. Again, you can only redo the example if it's the last thing. So I continued the discussion with it. And I was just asking questions about successful mascots and mascots that were not successful and so on. And at that point, I can then modify the response to be shorter, longer, simpler, more casual, or more professional, which is another thing that's pretty nice here that you do not get with ChatGPT. By the way, they do have a microphone option here. So at any time, if you wanted to, you could go in here and ask questions via tapping the microphone. So if you're on your computer, that's kind of handy. If you're on a mobile device, you can do that because your keyboard already has a microphone built in. But if you're on a PC, that's pretty handy there too. And here's where you would upload files like JPEGs or CSV files for it to analyze. All this is done for free. Bard does have a frequently asked questions page, which is actually pretty good. I like when you ask it if it gives accurate and safe responses. It hedges its bet a lot. It says it's experimental, they can be inaccurate, don't trust them, double check, do all that. And please give feedback because it improves the quality. So they're openly telling you, we're going to get it wrong. Please don't make consequential decisions based on what we tell you. This is still experimental. Bard right now, you have to be 18 or older, and you have to have a personal Google account unless they turn it on for your Google Workspace, and your admins can do that. Tech directors out there, if you want to turn on Bard, you can do so with your Google Workspace account for faculty or people 18 years and older. I would create an organizational unit, drop in a few people who may want to experiment with it, and turn on Bard for them. Bard supports 40 languages. You can see all of these languages here that it does support, which is really kind of crazy. That's awesome. It has a lot of language support, which again, all that translation, train me how to teach this language, all that can be done with this thing. Bard coming up, Bard will be looking at getting third-party integration with different services and of course, Google products. The experimental version of Bard is a standalone utility. It's at bard.google.com, but the tool will be integrated into Google Search. Speaking of search, Google does have an experimental version of their regular Google search with your personal Gmail account. You have to go to labs.google.com where you can go here and turn on certain features. And one of them here is the third one. It's where it says help shape the future of information. And this is their AI assisted or AI enhanced Google search. When you go there, you have what they call SGE, which stands for Search Generative Experience. It's only available in the US, but you can turn that on. I've turned that on mine, and then you can go in there and try an example of that, which is a way of, when you do a Google search, it will do a search for you and turn up something, and then will create the additional AI generated content. So it's basically kind of working in Google Bard into your Google searches and so on. This is with your Google search now, with your personal account for now, and you do that by turning on the feature in Google Labs. Again, I'll have a link at the bottom. So in summary, Google Bard is free. It's for 18 and older. The strengths here are code, images, and web searching, and live access to websites. The limitations really is the creativity. And you can access it at bard.google.com. I think once they fix their 18 and older issue, and they will, trust me, they will. Once they get it down to 13 and older, Bard might be the choice for a lot of schools. And having it integrated directly into your Google Suite is pretty strong too. So keep an eye on Bard. Right now, Google is a little bit behind, but I think they're going to be playing catch up in a big way. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it useful. And if you did, hit that like button. Heck, why not support us? Click that subscribe button. Click the bell icon to receive email notifications for videos. Leave a comment or an idea for a Tech Tuesday video below. Share this video with your friends, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.